Welcome to this explainer. Listen, if you're a focused learner looking to transform what is basically an intimidating terminal tool into your absolute greatest productivity asset, well, you've landed in exactly the right spot. Today, we're going completely from zero to hero with Claude Code. We're going to be demystifying this incredible new digital teammate step by step. Let's just dive right in. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll officially meet your AI teammate. Next, we'll tackle installation and the initial setup. Then, we're going to scaffold your project's brain, manage its permissions, and finally, scale up your workflows. All right, let's get moving. Section 1. Meet your AI teammate. Okay, if you have ever felt a little, intimidated by a stark black terminal screen staring back at you with just a blinking white cursor, don't sweat it. We're going to diffuse that intimidation factor right now. The really interesting keyword we need to talk about here is agentic. Now, most of us already know the standard browser-based chatbots, right? You type a message, you get a reply. But those tools, they can only give you advice. Claude Code is an entirely different beast. It runs directly inside your terminal and actually takes direct action on your computer. It creates files, it builds websites, sets up databases, installs packages, the whole shebang. It is an active builder, not just a passive advisor. And honestly, this is exactly why you shouldn't be intimidated by that terminal interface. Plain English is essentially the only programming language you need to know to get started here. You just describe your goal. Literally just say, hey, build me a one-page landing page with a green color scheme. And Claude handles all those complex, messy terminal commands entirely under the hood. Section 2. Installation and initial setup. All right, let's talk about getting the software actually running on your machine. Now, Claude Code does require a paid Anthropic subscription, so Pro, Max, or an Enterprise tier. But step 2 is where I really want to draw your attention, installing Git. Git is absolutely crucial because it acts as your ultimate safety net, your undo button, basically. Before Claude edits anything, it creates checkpoints. So if it happens to make a mistake, you just easily revert back. No big deal. Once Git is good to go, you just open your terminal or PowerShell, paste in a single installation command, hit enter, and then type Claude. You authenticate your account in the browser, and boom, you're in. Once you're actually inside, you gotta know how to navigate. The absolute essential commands to master are your / shortcuts. These let you execute repeatable tasks without typing out massive prompts every single time. /init is a huge one. It analyzes your whole codebase and creates a core instruction file. Then there's /compact, which literally shrinks your conversation to save the AI's memory. /clear completely wipes the session for a totally fresh start. And hey, if you ever get lost in the weeds, just type /help to see every single shortcut available to you. But look, what if the terminal really just isn't your thing? Well, Anthropic recently introduced a really brilliant alternative for Mac users called Claude Cowork. It's this visual desktop app that gives you the exact same agentic power, but lets you use standard, familiar folders and actually takes control of a Chrome browser to test things out for you. It's incredibly friendly for non-technical users who just want to build software without staring at that black screen. Section 3. Scaffolding your project brain. Okay, now that we're all set up, it's time to move beyond the absolute basics. This is the crucial step of setting up the core instructions that guide your AI's behavior. Say hello to Claude.md. Without clear guidance, Claude is basically just going to guess what you want, and let's be real, guessing leads to bad results. This specific Markdown file is literally the brain of your workspace. It's a file you just drop into your project folder, and Claude reads it at the very start of every single session. It standardizes your whole workflow, meaning you don't have to constantly repeat your preferences every time you open your laptop. So why is it so incredibly important to keep your Claude.md precise and concise? Well, it all comes down to the context window. Think of this as Claude's short-term memory, and it has a very strict limit. Every file it reads, every prompt you type, every single line of code generated, it all eats up space in this window. And if it gets too full, you run into something called context rot, which is where Claude basically starts forgetting your earlier instructions and starts making silly mistakes. To protect that precious memory space, your instructions need a few key ingredients. You want your tech stack and framework details, your coding conventions like telling it, hey, always use TypeScript, and your Git workflow requirements so it automatically commits clean code. Also, providing a really brief summary of your APIs helps tremendously. Doing all this stops Claude from playing guessing games, prevents repetitive errors, and keeps that context window super lean and healthy. Section 4. Managing permissions and modes. Now that our project's brain is built, let's talk about control. We're going to tackle the mechanics of exactly how much autonomy and speed you actually want to hand over to your digital teammate. Because Claude Code takes actual, real actions on your computer, you have to manage its permissions. Now, by default, it operates in Ask Before Edits mode. This is super safe, for sure, but if you're building a massive project, having to manually approve edits every 10 seconds is going to absolutely kill your workflow. On the flip side of that, you have Bypass Permissions mode. This is blazing fast, zero interruptions, but obviously it carries a much higher risk, seeing as it can delete files or run complex commands without even asking you. But here's the good news. You don't have to choose between extreme safety or extreme risk. By just customizing your settings.json file, you can find the absolute perfect sweet spot. You can pre-approve the safe, repetitive actions, reading files, running your dev server, doing basic Git commits, while essentially gatekeeping the really risky stuff. You literally force Claude to ask your permission before it does things like install new packages, delete whole folders, or make external API calls. It's basically the ultimate balance between high velocity and project safety. Beyond just permissions, you really need to understand Claude's operational modes. Plan mode, absolute game changer. It's a read-only state where Claude explores your files, researches the web, and drafts a highly rigorous plan before it even thinks about writing any code. Then there's CLI mode, which uses a -p flag to run tasks entirely autonomously in the background. Seriously, you can just let it run and go grab a coffee. Finally, we've got extended thinking. This actually gives Claude a dedicated budget of tokens to logically reason through super complex problems before typing a single line. Section 5, Scaling Up Your Workflows. And this brings us right to the climax of our tutorial. Because once you master the basics, this is where you truly exponentially multiply your productivity. The absolute crucial piece for scaling is this hidden folder in your workspace called the .claude directory. Because it starts with a period, your file explorer is usually going to hide it just to keep things tidy. But inside, that's where it holds your custom playbooks. This is the spot where you store skills, which are basically expert instructions for highly specific tasks, like writing marketing copy or formatting code, as well as your specialized agents and custom rules. It's basically the central command for supercharging your entire workspace. And right inside that directory, you can actually build sub-agents. So instead of doing everything yourself, you basically become a manager. You can spin up a code reviewer, a dedicated researcher, or a QA tester. They run in their own totally clean, isolated context windows. They do their specific job, and then they report back to you. For really massive projects, you can even spawn agent teams that don't just report to you, but actually collaborate directly with each other using a shared task list. It's wild. Now, if you want to push parallel development to the absolute limit, you use work trees. These are essentially isolated copies of your code, and I'm telling you, they are the ultimate cheat code. You could literally have one instance of Claude fixing a super annoying login bug in one terminal tab, while a completely separate instance of Claude is building a brand new feature in another tab. And because they're totally isolated, they won't interfere with each other's code or scramble each other's memory. Top experts actually pull all of this together into what's known as the master builder loop. This right here is exactly how top creators are pushing out hundreds of pull requests a month without breaking a sweat. Step 1, launch multiple tasks in parallel using those work trees. Step 2, use plan mode to build an absolutely airtight spec. Step 3, switch over to auto-accept edits for blazing fast execution. And step 4, and this is vital, guys, give Claude tools to verify its own output, like letting it run the dev server or view a browser. If it can actually see its own mistakes, it's going to fix them before you even realize they were there. So we've covered the complete journey today. Everything from caking the fear out of that blinking terminal to structuring your project's brain, tuning your safety permissions, and unleashing parallel sub-agents to massively scale your work. The only thing left for you to figure out is what tedious, boring tasks are you going to automate with your new digital teammate today? Go open up your terminal, fire up Claude Code, and just start building. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you all next time.